Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the part 2 of this workshop on finance. I welcome back Mr. Amit Aggarwal, Director Genus Apparel, to chair this session. We have Mr. Prabhu Agarwal, Vice Chancellor, Bennett University, with us today. Dr. Agarwal is an active teacher, speaker, and consultant in the areas of operational excellence, supply chain optimization, business analytics, and breakthrough performance. He has close to 30 years of experience in both academia and industry. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Agarwal, I'll hand over to you now, please, to conduct the session.
Okay, great. I need to share my screen, I guess.
Okay.
So let's see if I can do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, awesome. Let me go in full screen mode. All right.
Great.
Everything good now?
Great.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So a very good afternoon to all of you. And thanks for inviting me to this International Conference on Apparel and Home Textiles 2021. It is a pleasure to be here. I've had some interactions in the past with the Okhla garment and textile clusters also. So I'm excited to be here. I was asked to talk about the concepts of TOC. Now it's a very broad subject, very, very broad subject. And it won't take me, doing justice to it in 1 hour is almost impossible, to say the least. But I will make an effort to go through some of the main points. If I'll be skipping a lot of slides. I was noticing there are some 53 slides on this. So I'll touch upon, and I'm watching my clock, and I'll touch upon the relevant portions. And I'd also appreciate if there are any questions to me that are put in the chat box. If I can save the last half an hour or so to answer questions, it'll be very, very valuable. So with that, I begin my talk, and I basically want to ask somebody. I'm assuming that you are manufacturers of fashion clothing for big retailers worldwide. Big retailers are the Gaps of the world, the Reliances of the world, who are buying large quantities and sourcing their stuff from Asia, Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia. What do you think is the most dreaded 2 words in the apparel industry from a big retailer's point of view? Any ideas? Anybody can type something in the chat box. This is going to be interesting since it's a one-way discussion. Okay, so I'm going to, I guess, have to answer that question myself. The 2 things that messes up the big retailer is one of either a situation of out of stock, that is, the product is not available to the customer at the point of sale. And the second biggest issue is obviously the opposite of this, which we call end of season sale, clearance sale, where a lot of unsold stock is lying on the shelves, which has to be cleared out, preparing for the next season. You have to release working capital and all the other issues that are associated with it. Now, this problem is the problem of your customer. And there are a lot of reasons, and I'm not really delving into the apparel industry necessarily. But if I asked you what were the reasons, I can tell you 4 or 4 symptomatic issues. Units want to ask the buyers to buy deep so they can reserve capacity. Buyers want to buy deep because they want to secure lower rates. There are long cycles from buying to the supply side, 6 months on average, 2 selling seasons. I'm making it a little hypothetical. So something has to be forecasted 6 months in advance. And then when the material shows up, there is a mismatch. And this mismatch causes either the hot selling products to be undersupplied and the duds to be more than what is needed. So one would say, okay, the answer to this question is, let's do more scientific forecasting. TOC is not about that. TOC is very, very different. TOC is about leveraging the constraint in the system to lower lead times, to increase capacity, and make the supply chain more efficient. Now, that's about all I'm going to say today from a theoretical standpoint. And it requires a lot of understanding of the TOC concepts of how this works or doesn't work. So what I want to spend my time is on something called mindsets and behaviors. And I'll start by asking a simple question. Where is this thing is covering my screen? I think I need to go in a different format. Okay. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. And this is my experience. Whenever I go to organizations and I ask them a very simple question, why are things happening in your organization? Why do these things happen in your organization? Have you ever paused to think about it? What do you think is the answer? What is the most common answer I hear? The most common answer I hear is, I don't know. I don't know why it happens here, but it has been happening here forever, like this. Or at least for as long as I remember, this is how things get done. And one of the reasons I bring this up is because, let me go back to the history of TOC. TOC is a science which was first written up by Dr. Eli Goldratt, an Israeli physicist, in the 1980s. And he came out with a book. And he wrote it as a novel. It was a novel based on a story of a general manager of a small manufacturer in the US. Right? And this story is this book is a novel written around this. And that's where the first time we heard the word constraint and the theory of constraints. And Dr. Goldratt's argument is that it is mostly mindsets and behaviors other than anything else. That become constraints in an organization. If you're married to the idea that things have happened here this way forever, therefore they shall continue this way forever, then that's a constraint. You have created a constraint, right? So we'll delve a little deeper into this as we go along in the next 45 minutes. But the goal, all right? We've talked about the goal and we'll get back to the goal. But before we go there, to understand TOC, there are actually five paradigms that are laid out in the science of TOC. 5 paradigms. You can call them laws. And each of them looks at a traditional paradigm and says, replace it with a TOC paradigm. So the first paradigm is all systems are inherently constrained. Okay, that is a given, that's natural. All systems are inherently constrained. Okay, if that is the case, the TOC paradigm is constraints are in our control and we can influence them. We're not debating the idea that there is a constraint in the system. What we are saying is the TOC paradigm tells us that the constraint is ours to own, and what we do with the constraint will make all the difference. The second paradigm, systems exhibit inherent complexity, correct? Systems are complex. A rocket that is flown to the moon is a complex system, right? Well, the question is, what is complexity to us? If I put you in front of a jumbo jet and said, fly this airplane, you'd say, oh, no, this is crazy. It's a complex system. How do I fly this airplane? On the other hand, a pilot who is trained to fly a jumbo jet will fly the plane. When you and I get sick, we go to the doctor. You said, I don't know what's happening in my body. My body is a very complex system. The doctor doesn't see it that way. He is able to get to the so-called root cause of the problem and solve the problem. So what we are saying is complexity is something, we use the word complexity in tradition to say that when we don't understand something, we call it complex. The TOC paradigm is all complex systems are inherently simple. There are only 1 or 2 degrees of freedom that controls complex systems. And that's the root cause of issues that TOC actually espouses. The interesting paradigm is all situations are inherently win-lose. If I have to sell something to a customer, if I have to win, means I have to make more profit, then the customer's cost will go up. Therefore, I win, he loses, or the other way around. But we are always looking and constructing win-lose solutions. If we step back from this and look at what the TOC mindsets are, the traditional paradigm gets replaced with, obviously, all problems have a win-win solution. All problems have a win-win solution. A good example is the App Store, Apple App Store. You put your product on the App Store. You take 1 rupee from the customer, 70 paisa is yours, 30 paisa is App Store, 30%. This is win-win. The more people who come on the store, it's not like the pie is fixed now. The pie only is getting bigger. And as the pie gets bigger, both the developers and the store is equally gaining in share. Therefore, they see it as a win-win solution. It's a classical example. Classical example of a win-win solution. This is a very interesting paradigm. We have been taught all our life that there is inherent certainty in the world. And we have this crazy quest for optimization. sales maximize karo, cost lowest karo. In the TOC world, the most important I consider of these paradigms is this one. Uncertainty is the only reality. Only reality is uncertainty, meaning Murphy. You know Murphy, right? When things are going fine, something will go wrong. Murphy is out there, always out there. There is no point of dealing with certainty. Imagine how you have to manage in an uncertain world. And don't run after optimizations, perfect solutions. Look for good enough solutions that will work. Good enough solutions will do. We love this one, correct? People are inherently bad. I would say, honestly, how many people come to work in the morning in your organizations? With a deliberate mindset to do something bad. I'm sure there is one or two people like that. I'm not talking about that. But in general, we always assume that people are inherently bad and will do something crazy. No, it's really about only assumptions are wrong, not people. People come with assumptions. Surface the bad assumptions to resolve conflicts. This is a paradigm on which the whole cloud conflict evaporation has been based in TOC. They don't point fingers at other people. They think about, I mean, it's very simple, okay? I have 2 engineers in my office. And I tell them to go measure the height of this building. One person comes back and says, sir, this is 60 meters tall. The other person comes and says it's 40 meters tall. It can't be. The building is got one height. You can't average the height and say, okay, chalo, I'll take 50. It doesn't work that way. Neither is the person wrong. You have to validate their answers, right? So somebody has made an assumption which is wrong. And whatever that assumption is, which has led to the wrong answer, has created a conflict. So once that bad assumption has been so-called exposed, well, one person did a scientific study, had the proper thing, and his assumptions were correct, and the second person kind of looked at it from far, guessed, just made some guess. So, there are all kinds of reasons. But all conflicts can be resolved if the bad assumptions can be exposed. That's kind of what this traditional paradigm talks about. So I think it's important to recap this. All systems have inherent constraints. Therefore, there exists inherent potential because you have access and control over the constraint. Systems are inherently complex, which actually are in turn thought of to be inherently simple. There is always a win-lose inherent conflict between a solution. In TOC, we are always looking for a win-win solution. In inherent certainty and optima exists, which is replaced by inherent uncertainty and good enough solutions are good enough. And we replace inherent bad people by inherent good people with bad assumptions. That's all. So this is kind of, and it takes a while to kind of get used to this idea. So when we discuss things, when we talk about TOC implementation, when we talk about how TOC works, it's constantly building on these TOC beliefs and paradigms. Are there any questions? I'm taking a 2-minute pause and I'm looking at the chat box.
Yeah, Ruchira, how do we get questions on the chat?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to figure out. I think we go back to the Hubulo platform. I think Neeraj may be able to better help us with this, but I'm just checking myself. I think there is a way I can find out. And
Because I only see 4 participants here.
no, yeah, I think no, but that's only no. They are more, but we can't see it that way. I cannot see it. I can see it. I see the chat, but I can't see a question, sir. I don't think there are any questions right now. No, once we go back to
But
the
where is it? I can also
okay,
go.
I will. Should I present my screen? I'll show you where it is. Okay. I don't know if
Because I
can.
have like 4 or 5 pieces here. So if there are
Okay.
any questions right now, I'd like to take them and then I'll move to the next one and next one and
So
so on and so forth.
I can't share my screen because you are sharing your screen. But when we go back to the Hubulo platform, from where
Acha.
we joined,
Then where do we go?
you go to the window where you had selected join as a speaker.
Acha.
Go to that window. Next to that, there's an icon which says moderate attendee engagement like chat, question and answer, etc.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's if you go back, I can show you my screen.
No, I'm also going there. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm parallel
Next to
processing
the
this. Wait a
tab, it
second.
says join as a speaker.
Okay. Just one
It's a
second.
round.
Agenda, view all. Wait a second.
नहीं sir, उसमें नहीं. Go to agenda and go in this session, that window.
Live agenda. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. And then there is this preview the live session video being streamed, and then moderate attendee engagement like chat, Q&A. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, I have current gen out of stock. There is a Q&A icon. Okay, I'll keep this one on, I think, practically
Right.
open out here. Okay, so there are no questions so far. Okay, great. Okay, now I want to, I'd kind of encourage the people who are listening to me. Answer my next question. What is the goal of your organization? Anybody? What is the goal of your organization? Just throw up some ideas. If you're a business owner or you work for a company, what do you think is the goal of your organization? No answers? Well, some organizations state that their goal is to be a world-class organization. It's all English, by the way, world-class organization. Nobody knows what world-class means. I'm a Bennett University Vice Chancellor. I want to build a world-class university. But then it'll be very, very hard for me to define what world-class is. Stated differently, they would like to delight their customers now and as well as in the future. Well, okay, that's a good goal. Similarly, I'd like to delight my customers at Bennett University, meaning my students. They would get excellent education, excellent jobs, excellent placements, right? Something or the other. So that's a goal. It's fine. I can live with that. I have some people answering me now. Somebody is saying be profitable. Somebody said, Vivek is saying sustainable and long-term growth. Vishal is saying make money. Okay. Another goal could be, many other organizations say that their goal is to keep their employees happy now and in the future. Yeah, इतने सारे सर्वे आते रहते हैं. Good place to work, great place to work. Employees को खुश रखना हमारा goal है. I mean, that must be the underlying thing, right? A lot of people say Google is a great place to work or this organization is a great place to work. So that's an organizational goal. Southwest Airlines, for example, since its inception has never fired or laid off a single person. That's remarkable. 1971 में वो airline launch हुई थी. 1971 was when that airline got launched. And they have not laid off and fired a single employee. Even during the COVID pandemic, by the way. Imagine. Another goal could be Somebody said, I think Amarjit is saying this, right? A few organizations declare that their goal is to make money now and in the future. Honestly, a lot of people go, what? You want to make money? It just sounds dirty, right? Yeah, I'm in business and I want to make money. Sounds dirty. The reality is, the most successful and profitable companies in the world make tons of money. The Apples, the Googles, the Microsofts. Look at the amount of money they make. We're talking about making money. I'm a for-profit organization. What business am I in? I'm in the business of making money. That's the simple answer. Is there any conflict then in trying to make my customers happy, my employees happy, or making money? There is none. There is really no conflict. If I want to make my customers happy, I have to do enormous amounts of things internally for which I need to make money, and I have to have happy employees. Pick one as the goal, the other two are necessary conditions. Pick any one of the two. For example, if I choose to delight the customers, in order to achieve this goal, it is absolutely necessary that I have happy employees now and in the future. And in order to have happy employees, I have to make money now and in the future to keep my happy employees. There is absolutely no conflict. You pick one, the other two are necessary conditions. And I can keep going. So we'll settle on this idea now. In reality, there is no conflict between the three different goals. Choose any one of the three, the other two become necessary conditions.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Ruchira, is the screen not visible clearly?
Yes, sir. Prabhu, sir, if you could put your screen on full screen mode. Right now, we can only see half your screen.
Oh, the reason. Oh, is that true?
Yes, sir.
Now?
Yes.
Now it is okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
now it is okay.
Like to put it to this.
No. Actually, I'm doing badmashi. That's why. And the badmashi I'm doing is I'm trying to keep the chat box also open.
Chat box also open.
So let me see. So let me see how I can play this game.
You can maybe select a tab to share instead of the screen to share.
I'm only sharing the Excel.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a lot of text, so it's okay. You can read now.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, if I go into full screen mode, then it'll take over my whole screen. I really want this to be interactive. So I have a question from Anurag Sopti. Anurag is asking me, we should read the book, The Goal by Goldratt. Oh yeah, absolutely. If the one thing you will do after finishing this class, after one thing that I would ask you to do after listening to me is pick up a book on the goal. Just pick up the original copy. The original meaning there are 4 or 5 of them. So this is The Goal it's in blur motion. So anyways, pick up the book and get into it. And I think you would really enjoy it. It's an easy read. So Anurag, I would say, I don't know if you're asking me if you should read the book or not. But anyways, the goal is so we have come to one conclusion. The goal of an organization is making money, correct? Now, as well as in the future. Okay. And I'll be happy to circulate my slides to you, Ruchira, or anybody later on that you can send to the participants. I have no difficulty, okay?
Thank you so much, sir, for that.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, how do you know if you're making money? Very simple question. Goal is something to make money. And then you say, how do I know if I'm making money? Now you can ask your accountants and your finance team, they'll tell you profit, return on investment, cash flow. ये 3 measurement hai. These are the 3 measurements. Okay. Do I question these measurements? Absolutely not. But I do question the validity of these assumptions in terms of their usefulness at the operating level. What do I mean by the operating level? So the people who are doing the work, the people who are making decisions, managers, supervisors in organizations, unko bolo profit, return on investment, cash flow, it doesn't jive with them. These are not operating measures. These are financial measures which reflect the health of an organization. So can we find adequate operating measures that can be as useful to us to understand whether we are making money or not? So the one big thing that the TOC finance and measurements area does is introduces to us. Actually, before I go there, I have one more slide. Let's just look at it. Ask yourselves, if you're business owners, you are unable to meet your financial commitments, meaning you can't even pay the milkman in the morning. It's bankrupt. You're meeting financial commitments, but you're not making profits. Means you're taking on more and more and more debt, or you're dipping into savings. Or you're making financial commitments, meeting them, not making losses. Good news. But profits are fluctuating. I'm thinking college. One quarter they're up, the other quarter they're down, whatever. I'm thinking most organizations are at number 3, if they're profitable. Number 4, tough. Profits are increasing continuously, period after period. And last but not least, return on investment and return on capital employed are increasing continuously. Can you even guess what percentage of organizations are actually making money now and in the future? The goal of the goal? You'll be surprised that less than 1% organizations listed on the BSC have met this criteria. You ask yourselves, how is your performance? Are you making money? Are you delivering absolutely on time in full? Also sometimes called OTIF. Anybody needs any clarifications, please put them in the chat box. It's open on the side. I'll help you through. I know it's a difficult subject. Okay. This is rewording what Einstein said. Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. He called it insanity, I call it stupidity. Then if we go a little deeper, I said, okay, I understand I want to make money. I'm an organization. I'm a for-profit organization. I want to make money. My finance people measure profit, by money by profit, by ROI, by cash flow. So for the average employee, seeing the effect any given action an average employee takes on net profit or return on investment is almost impossible. Correct? Tell me one thing, and this is, if you read the book, you'll understand this. I am the head of a department in an organization. Mera apna department, a small department, and I'm taking about 10 minutes per piece. That's just an example. I'm taking 10 minutes per piece to produce this thing, whatever I'm producing in my department. Somebody tells me that go buy a robot. So I go there, I take $1 million investment, buy a robot. Okay. And now I'm producing the same piece in 2 minutes. Good, bad. Was that my decision? My decision's impact on profit of buying $1 million robot to produce the part in 20% of the time that I was originally taking. How will I figure out uska profitability kya hai? What is the ROI? Correct? Somebody is saying, Nidhi is saying good, Vishal is saying bad. Chalo, we'll come back to this and see if there's a right answer to this. As a result, we have created local measures like efficiency and utilization, right? Because we believe that they are linked to net profit or local measures. Kya hote? I mean, what is a local measure for this department head? Capacity बढ़ा दी मैंने. 1 घंटे में I was doing 6 pieces. Now in 1 hour, I can do 30 pieces. So my efficiency and utilization has gone up. Yet we don't know that, we know that 99% of organizations are failing to achieve their goal. So what is the right question to ask when you are making decisions like this? At the operating level, we are going to introduce 3 operating measures. And by the way, since this is part of the finance stream, I have picked only the financial piece of TOC to an extent, not the operating, not the drum buffer, not sales and marketing, not supply chain distribution, and so many more, right? Sales and marketing. I've not taken that. So I've particularly focused on how to think about finance within the TOC paradigm, TOC framework. So the 3 operating measures are throughput, investment, operating expense. I mean, what are these 3 words? Okay, just these are the 3 things you have to learn or take away from this session today. That no more. What is T? Yeah, this is the flow of money. Now, if you look at that little graph, S is sales. Sales is you sell 100 products for 5 rupees a piece, 500 sales. That is money that flows in. That is money that flows in. Does my cursor show moving?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
S is the money flowing in, right? What is TVC? Totally variable cost. You're making one shirt. What's the variable cost? The cloth, the fabric, the buttons, the label. That's it. And some thread. That's it. And maybe some packaging material. So that's total variable cost. That's money going out. What is I? I is called investment. Some money goes in investment. What is this? I'll tell you later on. This can be work in process inventory. This can be accounts receivable, whatever. What is OE? OE is a fixed monthly expense that you have to incur. Fixed monthly expense that you have to incur, which would include manpower cost. A lot of people that I've talked to and I've seen in apparel companies make the mistake of saying, to stitch this garment, I need 22 minutes. And basis that, मेरी factory में इतने minutes हैं, इतना people हैं, they take that and they convert the fixed cost into a totally variable cost, which is absolutely wrong according to TOC principles. This OE is a fixed drain on your taxes, rent, whatever you're paying, depreciation, manpower cost, anything you're paying, fixed monthly expenses. There is obviously fights when I talk to people कि ये OE नहीं हो सकता, ये TVC है, ये TV नहीं. I am simply saying the small things you argue over, you finish off that argument, you decide that electricity will be TVC. Okay, then TVC, fine. But then leave it at that. So these, and then whatever left is cash in bank, correct? This is how money flows. No arguments. Now, I'm not talking about financing and bringing money from the outside into the system. वो सब नहीं. This is operating flow of money. So throughput is very simply the rate at which contribution rupees are coming into the organization. T, net sales minus all truly variable costs, or TVC. So T is equal to sales minus TVC. TVC is simply all costs that we would be saved if we sell or produce 1 unit less. You make 1 less shirt, you save the kapra, the buttons, and all the other things, accessories for the shirt. That's all the TVC. You used to make 100 times that is what we are talking about. Okay, so that's throughput. Remember this. Investment is all the money currently tied up inside the system. All the inventory and raw material, work in process or in finished goods is all investment. It's your money that is invested, which has not flown to the bank. All the money that's blocked in plant and machinery. All the stuff that you sell and have not received any money from your customer in receivables. These are all part of your money that should be used to convert raw material to final product, okay? This is all I. And OE, I've already told you, all the money that the system spends on converting inventory into throughput, right? All the expenses are clubbed together as OE and are thought as fixed. All employee expenses are part of OE. How much time do I have? Hello.
Ruchira, yeah, Ruchira, do we have 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So 4:30 our wrap-up session begins. So we have to.
Okay, because I can get very deep into this.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, if you look at it, I'm saying you just remember these 3 words, T, I, and OE. If you look at T, I, and OE, they all link back to your financial measurements. Profit is equal to T minus operating expense. Return on investment is profit divided by investment, which is T minus OE divided by I. Free cash flow is equal to throughput minus OE minus the delta in I. If some I is released, it comes to you as free cash flow. And I can tell you what happens to P, ROI, cash flow, when we improve either T or I or OE, keeping other 2 constant. What do I mean by improvement? T should go in which direction, up or down? T should go up. Where should I go? Money blocked. It should go down. And last but not least, what about OE? Well, you'll all like to say your fixed cost should go down, but in our TOC world, we don't really talk about that. We said maintain OE. Maintain OE, period after period. Longish term, it might be a different situation. So here's your measurement priorities. Throughput must improve period after period. Incremental increase in T, or you can read it another way, as incremental increase in T must be more than the incremental increase in OE. But just keep T going up, second priority I going down, third priority OE being maintained. Let's just keep it simple. Now I want to go back to my question on the robot. You took $100 million, you bought a robot, and you cut the time to produce a part from 10 minutes to 2 minutes. What happened to T? Anybody? Has T gone up or down? Waiting. Throughput is what you sell. Now you're making a part in 10 minutes and now you're making it in 2 minutes. Does that mean you're selling more? It could be very well. Think about it, Manish. Think about it. You're producing a part very fast, but the next operation cannot take it from you because his or her speed is much lower than yours. So what's happening? You're building inventory of this part. And if I come back to your office after 1 week and in your department, now there's stock and stock of your part lying there. So T did not change, I went up. And another very important question. OE includes manpower cost. In how many organizations, when you bring a robot, do you fire anybody? Or let him go? So OE has not changed. So this is the point I'm trying to drive with you guys. That TOC will actually focus on these 3 parameters. Only actions which increase T, reduce I, and maintain OE are the right actions. And if taken, they are aligned to the goal. And the goal of the organization is to make more and more money now and in the future. Am I clear? Like Vishal is saying, OE will be more as robot will need maintenance costs. Yeah, I'll go and hire one more maintenance person. You're absolutely right. But see what happens. I am the general manager, right? I am the general manager of this plant. I walk around and I have all you managers and supervisors of my different departments. And what do I do as a general manager? I shout, I scream. I say, improve. And then I go away. What does a supervisor do to improve? He has a local sphere of influence. He controls the department. My boss is telling me to improve. How do I improve? He says, okay, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to put a robot. And while I was taking 10 minutes, now I'll do the work in 2 minutes. Boss will be very happy. My capacity and my efficiency has gone up tremendously. So it is not an ill-conceived idea of a manager or a supervisor that these things happen. Our influences are local. What is it that limits your organization to achieve more of its goal, to make more and more money? Some constraint, obviously, right? The core idea of TOC, by the way, till now, I have not spoken of TOC. I have only talked about paradigms, laying the groundwork, organizational goal, and financial metrics. Right? Now I'm introducing to you the core idea of TOC. The core idea in the TOC is that every real system, such as a profit-making enterprise, must have at least one constraint that limits the system to achieve its goal. Otherwise, you'll make infinite profits. The constraint can be inside your operation. It can be in the market, or it can be in your supplier side. Where do you think you want the constraint to be? Market, internal, yeah, supplier side. Very critical question. No answers? Yes. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Thank you so much, Manish. In our control, internal. Otherwise, what's the point? The whole issue of TOC is we know that the control, every system will be constrained. If we have to influence that, if we have to maximize the benefit of, or rather exploit the constraint is the right word, it has to be internal. We have to choose an artificial constraint and keep it there. Okay, absolutely correct. So if you are a garment manufacturing firm, which department would you choose to be your constraint? I work with steel factories. In steel factories, we use the blast furnace as our constraint. In your world of, you have 450 sewing machines installed in your unit. What's your constraint? I'm giving you a hint. Sewing department should be your constraint. What does it mean? See, remember, an organization can be compared to a chain. You have heard about the weakest link in the chain, right? An organization will break, or the chain will break at the weakest link. It is a sequence of dependent events that is a chain of a business. You cannot dispatch components unless they are packed, or we cannot pack parts until they are manufactured, and so on and so forth. You know this better than I do. The output of an organization is synchronized to the efforts of various functions. Think about it this way. I have station A, station B, station C. Station A can produce a part in 10 minutes. Then it has to go to station B. It produces it in 15 minutes. And then station C, and it produces it in 5 minutes. What will be the throughput? How much time will it take to make one part? 10, 15, 5. It's a continuous operation. Don't make the mistake of adding them up. Which is the weakest link? The station that takes the most time. Usko 15 minutes lag raha hai, 15 minutes. So I can produce 4 parts per hour. Now, if I spend all my energy at A to improve it from 5 to 2 to 1, right? Will the throughput go up? No, sir. Throughput will not go up. How can I improve the throughput of this ABC example I just gave you? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and 5 minutes. If I want to produce more, how do I do that? Yes, longest operation is 15 minutes. We need to bring that number down. And there's a bigger issue. Should we improve all our functions of on our links? Or should we strengthen the weakest link, as I've already mentioned? So unless we improve the weakest link, we will not be able to improve T. And that's the basic premise of TOC constraint management. Another very important piece is that the global improvement is not the sum of local improvements. Now, I'm hearing line balancing is what you do to overcome. There's a much deeper problem, and If I get out of finance, then it is really the agility of the supply chain and how responsive you can be. And so we'll go there in a second. Often organizations spread their energies thin in other areas. So in the TOC world, optimizing a subsystem would sub-optimize the whole system. So what we do as consultants, or when we help organizations implement TOC ideas, the first thing we focus on is tell us what your weakest link is. And they'll tell us, yahan bhi hai, wahan bhi hai, yahan bhi hai, this is it, there. And now we'll go back and say, no, you got to pick one. You got to pick one. And there's a very well-established so-called step called POGI, Process of Ongoing Improvement, which is articulated by Dr. Goldratt. First is identify the constraint. Sometimes it's very easy to identify a constraint, by the way. You look around your organization and see where the most inventory is piled up before an operation. Obviously, that operation is a constraint. But I rather articulate a different point of view. I say, identify your constraint. If it's a steel mill, it's your blast furnace. If it's an apparel manufacturing line, then it's the sewing machine line. First, identify the constraint. Then exploit, subordinate, elevate, and avoid inertia. I'll explain this to you rather quickly in the next 5 minutes. Don't read all that stuff. Though the apparent constraint could be any one of the above, in reality, the policies of the decision makers are the ones that create or decide constraints. So we will, let's say, just imagine it's the sewing machines, your sewing lines. Decide how to exploit the constraint. Get the most possible out of the existing capacity of the constraint. I'll give you a very interesting example. On one of the constraints in a manufacturing unit, if we had identified one machine as the constraint, and this operation was a 3-shift operation, every 8 hours the shift had to change. So when the shift is ending, half an hour before the shift ends, the workers stop working, they get ready to pack, clean up, then they wait for the bus to take them to their residential area, and then the next batch of things are come in, and in this whole process 1.5 to 2 hours are wasted. And twice a day, 3 times a day means 6 hours of system time has gone down. 6 hours of system time has gone down. Because so when we suggested that the people who are working on the critical on the constraint should actually, the second staff should come before, get ready before these people are relieved. So there is no downtime on the constraint. Then they told us, okay, for that we'll have to get cabs. We'll have to get cabs because they will not be able to take the bus, and we cannot allow cabs. We found out 6 hours time every day multiplied by 365 days. They could have bought 360 cabs with the money that they were losing. 360 taxis could have been bought. And they did implement this, by the way. So every minute lost on the constraint is the minute lost on the system. Every minute lost on the constraint is a minute lost on the system. So in your world, if your line is not fully functional, you're doing things that are not exploiting it. You don't have the raw material, therefore your constraint is waiting. That is a sin in this. That is a sin in TOC. TOC is all about making sure that you are exploiting the constraint to the fullest. Number 3, this is probably the most difficult step to achieve. And that's kind of what I was telling you, right? About the cab example. Subordinate all decisions to exploit the constraint. Everything you decide, all your policies, your measurements must be designed to get the most out of the constraint. Utilization and efficiency at non-constrained resources must not be measured also. The step is often missed, and thereby the majority of financial benefits of TOC is lost. This is one of the toughest steps. Ensuring exploiting and the constraint requires all your decision making has to be subordinated to that idea. If you can achieve the first three, actually there's an exercise in profit maximization. I have absolutely no time to be able to do that right now. The next is, at some point in time, your constraint will not become the constraint. Some other area might become a constraint. So, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Sir.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Very well.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. If more capacity is required after steps 2 and 3 to meet market requirements, right? Increasing it through capital investment should be your last resort. Outsourcing may be the answer, or offloading the constraint by deferring alternative routings, processes, or design may actually be the right answer. Oftentimes, just exploitation and subordination are enough to unleash some 35–40% of capacity that you need. Of course, don't get caught up in inertia. Again, I often find that this problem doesn't happen because I don't prescribe a moving constraint problem. I keep the constraint there. I keep the constraint there, keep exploiting it. So the constraint is not a moving constraint. But in some cases, I've noticed that the constraint may move and then the organization, because you know what the problem with a moving constraint is? A moving constraint means all your decisions and policies now have to be aligned to the new constraint. And that is not easy in an organization. So here's the answer then. The long-term strategic application of TOC does not call for continuous removal of all constraints. In any case, all constraints can never be removed. Rather, the idea is to choose where the constraint should be in order to best exploit the market opportunities and keep it there. This could be a 4-year, 5-year plan. I'll close out with one slide. There are some 6 layers of resistance. Not accepting that there is a problem or we have a different problem. This is often what we face in an organization. Once we can get through this, that is having people accept a problem, then not accepting the direction of a solution. If you can get acceptance there, then the problem becomes not accepting the specific solution. And not last, but we can get past that resistance, the solution will have negative side effects. Every solution will have some negative side effects. Once you can allay that fear, then will come the issues. Yeah, the solution is fine. Side effects have been taken care of. It's specific. Direction is good. It solves the problem, but implementation is an issue. And last but not least is the most difficult one, the unverbalized fear of implementing a solution, which is where we run in most often. So I think this is a natural place I'd like to stop. And I will be open to questions. Anything you put in on the chat box, I'm open, I'm seeing it now. All right, any questions, sir? Ruchi, Amit? Maybe something the host wants to hear me answer.
I can't see the questions on the chat. So
Okay, I can see it. The next question is, how does one account for seasonal variations in demand? Or is it an external constraint, so that's important? No, not at all, Amarjeet. The seasonal variations in demand, in fact, demand variation is not a constraint at all. I'll tell you why. One has to think about this very, very differently. When you plan your entire output and your entire sales cycle on a forecast which is built 6 months late into the future, you are going to run into severe seasonal variations in demand. The argument I'm going to make with you is the following. What if you only have to forecast the next 15 days of demand? Maximum 1 month. It is clear that forecasting something 6 months out and 15 days or 1 month out, which one will be more accurate? 1 month out. So forecasting 1 month out takes away all seasonality. Now you're going to come back and ask me, oh, but I cannot, my supply chain is not agile. I cannot book an order and deliver in 1 month. That's your second question. The problem is why? You have to cut your lead time by a sixth, from 6 months to 1 month. Then you're going to tell me my supplier cannot provide me the goods. Dying is a problem somewhere. We are married to this idea that 6 months is our life cycle. Seasonal demand is very important, but it's not important if you take it out of the equation. There's nothing called seasonal demand anymore. You might have to build some buffers. You might have to create efficiencies in terms of exploit. It's so funny. There's a term in manufacturing in TOC we call, say, batching kills flow. Batching kills flow. I'll give you an example in a steel mill. You're extracting TMT rods, Saria. 15 mm, 18 mm, 20 mm, 25 mm, 30 mm. So you will load the machine up with 20 mm. And then you will produce at least for the next 6 days 20 mm. Chahe demand ho ya nahi. Why? Because you gain efficiencies. Because every time you shut down the machine, you take a changeover, 1 day is lost. And also, if you're going to produce 30 millimeter Saria, you can get a lot more productivity than 8 millimeter Saria in a day. The problem is nothing. Problem is measurements drive behavior. We tell our employees in the steel mill that your utilization should be high. We say we are measuring tonnage. How much tons of Saria have you produced? But if we had instilled in them that we are measuring profitability, which means we are measuring throughput, how much Saria you produce and it's sold, that's where the ball game changes. And same principles apply in apparel manufacturing. There are some really, really good consulting firms, by the way, out there that can help you guys. And I don't know if any participant here, any organization here has talked to any of them or has implemented TOC. They should probably share their experiences with the rest of the colleagues at OGTC. That's hopefully, Amarjeet, an answer to the question.
Are there any other questions in the chat box? Ruchita, I don't know how to look at the chat.
Sir, Prabhu sir is having a look at it. I'll also have a look.
No, there's nothing right now. Last question is Amarjeet.
All right.
Okay. So shall we conclude the session?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for all the knowledge that you have shared about TOC principles. And I hope all the audience and although this subject was little complex to understand. So I hope people will go back and do their homework and learn more about it.
I just want to conclude by one thing. I'm going to
please,
take,
please.
You use the word complex, and my definition of complexity is something we don't understand.
Yeah,
right?
please.
Yeah, so I'm just going to make it easy so it doesn't remain complex for anybody. Our goal is to make money. And in order to make money, all our actions must be consistent as an organization to make money. And those are basically means what? There is a constraint which has to be exploited. Unless until that constraint is exploited to the fullest, the organization will not be able to increase throughput. And if it cannot increase throughput, it will not make money. Simple one sentence summarization, sir.
Thank you, sir. My paradigm has changed. It is inherently simple, I would say.
There you go.
So thank you everyone for participating in the session. And I hope every one of you have learned something and will go back and do some homework, do some Google search to improve your knowledge on the subject and use this knowledge in your business, in your day-to-day life to improve your future life. Thanks everyone for having me as a session chairman.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you on behalf of OGTC. Thank you, Mr. Amit Agarwal, for chairing the session. And thanks a lot, Dr. Prabhu Agarwal, for this very, very engaging. You made all the effort to keep the session very interactive. Thank you for that. So thank you very much to both of you. Now, I would like to request all our delegates here and everyone to please join the conference wrap-up session. With the conference ends here, and we would have a summary session, a wrap-up session. You all know you have to join a different link for that. So I'll see you on the other side, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.